Okay, everybody, and hello, and welcome back to another video. This time, we're going to be talking about a core mechanic, a new mechanic at least, in Monster Hunter Wilds. If you don't want to watch the whole video and you just want to know the new information, cards down below. All I ask, give me one of these. Thanks. Okay, let's get started. So, Power Clash. Power Clash is sometimes called power struggles. I called them power struggles, but they're definitely called power clashes. Is a mechanic. It was shown off in, like, I think the first trailer. And to look at it is to make it think that it is like a really important mechanic that is going to be utilized on a regular basis. So the official description is guarding against certain monster attacks will pit your strength against the monster in a power clash. Rapidly press whatever button to push the monster back, knock it off balance, and gain a chance for a follow-up attack. So what we're going to be talking about is how do they actually work? And I will tell you, I've done a little bit of research on the internet, and there are some sites out there saying that you can only initiate power clashes through perfect guarding, so guarding just in time before a monster hits you. A better description would be guarding against certain monsters will build up the power clash effect. Perfect guards against most attacks will build up the effect faster. Only specific attacks from the monster can trigger a power clash. So let's show triggering a power clash by only guarding. So here I am only guarding. I'm not pressing it in time, even though he is countering. I'm not pushing it specifically. You can see I'm holding guard the entire time. He's going to go in with one of his big overhead punches. That is his move that will trigger a power clash once we get to that level. So I think we saw 75. We should be over 100. And he finally hit us with an attack that can trigger the power clash. So what's going on here is you can kind of think of a power clash like a status. If you don't know how statuses are applied, I've got videos that are all about status that will show how that goes up. But basically, every time you do a thing, apply a status, or in this case, apply power clash, you get closer to a certain threshold. In power clash's case, this threshold does go up, but the amount does not decrease over time. Guarding most hits seems like it goes up by 25. Perfect guards on most hits, although I did see some inconsistencies, will push this up by 50. First application happens very quickly. If they hit you with the correct attack, when they're going to be pushed over that limit, that 100 limit, you will immediately do that power clash. It then goes up significantly. It goes from 100 to 600. Then 600 to 1600, and then the final one that I saw, although I did not want to test it, is 3100. Let's do some quick math. 3100 divided by 50, that would be 62 perfect guards in a row? Or 124? I wasn't going to sit around and find out. Most things will be dead before the third application of Power Clash, let alone the fourth application of Power Clash. And you can see after the Chatacbra has been beaten by a Power Clash, we have the ability to do any number of a bunch of stronger attacks. Like I think there's like a lunging thrust. So my question is for you, those of you watching, this is a mechanic that was added to the game. You might think of it akin to like writing. How many monsters out of the roster do you think you can power clash? There's 29. So I did all this work. I did all this research. I individually tested every monster in the game just to make sure I didn't miss any. Seven monsters, including Chatacbra. I guess I didn't include Guardian Arkveld. I guess that would have been 8. Doshiguma and Guardian Doshiguma are the same, right? So it's Chatacbra, Blongo, Doshiguma, Arkveld, Uthduna, and Ajirakan. So what is there to say about Power Clash as a mechanic? For the most part, and even with it in mind, I would never go out of my way to try and get one. It's not like you normally even have that much stronger of an attack that you would normally. You know, you might get a TCS, you might get a charge chop. It's just kind of neat. However, the second part of this video is going to go into another armor set that does take advantage of power clashes. It's actually the entire reason why we wanted to make this video in the first place. That is the Binding Counter set. Set bonus. I've got a mix set on right now, but I'll show you the 2-piece. You'll see there kind of what the 4-piece looks like. So increases attack after recovering from web status, frostblight, being pinned, or a power clash. Okay. Comes on the Jin Dahaad armor set. It's relatively straightforward. So what are the levels? Well, let's get it out of the way first. When you trigger it, so through web, frostblight, frozen, pins, or power clash, binding counter lasts for 1 minute. It has no cooldown. In fact, my head's getting cut off right now. You can activate it, you can reactivate it even during its initial activation. So there's no issue if you're fighting something that is always going to be putting out a ton of ice, or if there was something that had a lot of power clashes. Wangaga is not a bad choice in this regard. It just activates. So that's nice. And 25 raw is a lot. 50 raw is just kind of ridiculous. At least, you know, coming from your armor, you know, there's really not many other ways to get that much raw. I guess Adrenaline Rush and Counterattack together. But those are skills. That's not a set bonus. You can see here we have 100 raw weapon. The 2-piece is giving us 25 raw, by the way, just so you can see it up there. So I have a list of monsters that this does technically work against. It is possible I missed one. If I did, let everyone know down in the comments below. I'm sure there's some other weird guy that's got a pin that I missed. But obviously Nerscylla has webs. You could use Binding Counter, probably have nearly constant uptime against Nerscylla. Hirabami, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's worth you bringing. It's easy to trigger if he shoots his ice. Jin Dahaad is scary. I really don't like it all that much against Jin Dahaad. The ice is just like, it's a lot of damage. You might want to tweak around the sets that I'm having that will give you more of the bind resistance to be able to get out faster. New Udra, Shei Wu, and Ajirakan all have pins. Ajirakan technically has a power clash, so Ajirakan could be okay, but he doesn't really do the grab that often. Basically, out of everything, Arkveld is basically custom designed for this set. He does not take good elemental damage. He takes great raw damage. And he has a grab he does all the time, constantly grabs, and he can power clash. So with most weapons with a shield where you're doing a lot of perfect guards, you can perfect guard 2-3 times. I mean, you know, if you're constantly doing it, you'll probably get at least two power clashes. And then it's probably another 3 or 4 minutes from grabs if you just let him grab you. So I'm just going to show off the sets that I've made. I've got 2 sets, and I encourage you to do a little bit of experimentation on your own. I think this one here is kind of like the hybrid set. So this is maybe somebody who wants to still be using like a status or an element. Not that you'd really want to use element without convert element against Arkveld. But, you know, something like that. Maybe against another monster where you think you might be getting either ice or web or power clashes. So we've got Dahaad Helm, Dahaad Legs, Gore Chest, Gore Alpha Tacit, and the Guardian Arkveld Arms. I'm playing around a little bit with Maximum Might on this one. And, you know, idea here isn't that different from the stuff we've talked about before. We've maxed out our Agitator. We've maxed out our Max Might. You know, we're getting a bunch of affinity from antivirus. You know, we still have Speed Eating 3, which is great. We've got 1 point of burst. And then, you know, we're getting that bonus affinity from Jin Dahaad's Revolt, as well as the Gore Magala affinity. This will give us the 25% affinity. That's pretty nice. I have another set that you could use, take a look at as well. And this one just focuses almost entirely on raw damage. So this time we've gone all Dahaad beta. And again, you might switch this around based on what you want. For me, I think this would be nice for most things. I would consider dropping the counter jewel for another earplug jewel. Just, again, some things just so I can get more full bursts off, but that's up to you. That's up to you in terms of like whether or not you want to guard. Guarding basically everything against the monster will increase the power gauge limit, the power clash limit. Even blocking the roar, perfect blocking the roar will add to that gauge. It just cannot trigger a power clash unless it's the specific attack. Otherwise, yeah, I mean, you know, you're going to get tons of damage from burst, good amount of damage from agitator, tons of damage from counter strike, and then you're going to get another 50 damage from Jin Dahaad's Revolt. If somehow you're still inflicted with an ailment, Resuscitate will give you an additional 10 raw as well. It's just like, it's a lot of damage. It's a lot of raw. And I don't know, this is the way I have the Gunlance set up. You don't necessarily need to have offensive guard, but it's probably the best choice for you to have on here. So that is Power Clash. I was trying to think about like how I felt about it. It feels like when they made World, by the way, thank you again, all of our Tier 3, Tier 2 subscribers from Twitch, YouTube channel members, Twitch Tier 1, and Twitch Prime subs. I appreciate you. I'm retired. Thank you for supporting me in my retirement. In Monster Hunter World, the director, Takuda, who's the director for Wilds, wanted you to be able to kill monsters without having to use your weapon much. I'm not saying Power Clash is like that, but I get the feeling it was initially designed to be like another interactive mechanic with which you would deal a lot of damage to the monster. I just get the sense that they were worried players would get bored of seeing the same animation over and over again if every monster had a Power Clash and if the limits were too low. If you're pessimistic, you could say that's not true. They just ran out of time. The game's not finished. All 29 monsters were supposed to have a Power Clash. I don't think so. Although, if that were the case, the Jin Dahaad armor set would definitely be even more valuable than it already currently is. As it is, I 100% recommend this armor set against Arkveld. I will probably be making sets of it for all of my Arkveld fights. As much as I enjoy Convert Element, and I am like Convert Element's #1 soldier, on Arkveld, I feel like this just makes the most sense. At least solo. Multiplayer, you're going to have the issues. Only one person's going to be able to get the Power Clash at a time. You can only grab one person at a time. So if you're constantly playing 4-player, maybe don't. If you're farming Nursilla 4-player, for whatever reason, go crazy. Have fun. Okay, I think that's it. I don't think I forgot anything. Kind of a shorter one, but Even though I spent all day testing, there's no reason to sandbag. Okay, you know what I'll do? I'll show it. I'll show what I did. Blunganga is a fun one. Maybe also try it against Blunganga. Okay. I'm leaving. Thank you all for watching. Goodbye.